northeast winds are not very good winds for fishing out of Milwaukee. Lately have been catching most of our fish on the flasher fly setups, on downriggers and on dipsy divers. King salmon, koa salmon, lake trout, and rainbow trout also. The big boat season alone, we fish from mid-April to the first week of October. During that time frame, I'm not out on the lake, on the water, fishing at least one, but most of the time 2 charters a day, maybe 7 times in that season. It's kind of funny because the idea came from simply wanting to be able to run a pizza maker to cook pizzas during our charters. That's where the idea originated. It was literally just to cook some pizzas. There she is. Gorgeous. From the small thought of the pizza maker, it kind of just grew into this bigger, brighter idea of, well, wait a minute, we can have the pizza maker cooking pizzas, we can have the air conditioner keeping the downstairs of the cabin cool, we can have the ice maker making ice all the time, outlets for plugging in phone chargers, battery chargers for electric fillet knives, and it went, like you said, it went from a pizza maker idea to a, well, let's, actually just use them batteries as a generator, and that's kind of where it ended up.
I started with Dakota Lithium, calling Craig. I knew a friend that was actually on their pro staff. Talking to Craig, and I said, well, what about the big boats? And he said, well, let's try one. So we figured out a plan, and we have a guy that's like an electronics genius, Joe, that he put together a plan of what we would need, how we would need it, the Victron Quattro inverter to take the battery power and invert it so that we wouldn't need a generator.
I like building things. To me, imagination really is your limit, and taking something, seeing how you can make it better, and running with it from design to completed process is really what I like doing. We want to make all these things run, but it's really, let's try them out, let's test them, let's turn on some of these things. How much does the air conditioner draw? How long is it running during the day? How long is the dehumidifier running? Pizza oven, adding it all up. There's a lot of testing that went on to go into the real calculations that said, how much battery do we actually need? And then, how much might be running at any given time? And then that's what we used to size the inverter. Then we went back to the batteries to make sure that we had enough current availability to run them, as well as enough capacity to run them for the length of time during the day that they would.
Thank you.
Even having the dehumidifier running all the time, in bigger boats like this that sit in the slips, or on the water or in the slips throughout the season, when you've got hot air temperatures and colder water or cool water that's cooler than the air temperature, oftentimes that leads to condensation. And without some sort of dehumidifier, you get that mildewy smell in like the cabins of your boats and stuff like that. So it's very important to have one of them.
So that comes in. I've got 14-ish kilowatts of power to deal with during the day. Say that my inverter's not 100% efficient, and that should be enough over 2 5-hour shifts run all of the things that they need.
I mean, quite honestly, generators require oil changes every so many hours. Fuel in the marinas isn't necessarily cheap. Fuel anywhere isn't necessarily cheap. Having one initial cost and then not having to think about the oil changes on the generator. Fuel consumption on top of having a 33-foot boat that's already consuming plenty of fuel without issues, right? We went from having 4 Odyssey batteries in this boat, getting rid of them 4 batteries, and then putting 10 Dakota Lithium batteries on this boat. Literally didn't even change the weight. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Like, we did 2.5 times the amount of batteries, and the weight overall, doing the math, was the same. you do it once, and so far so good. You know, there's been no issues. And I mean, why not? You know.